So, hi guys, welcome to our Tea with Peer Advisor session. This session will be dedicated to adapting to a new workload, since we know that all of you are either from high school or from your foundation year. Um, we know that the workload and transition is not going to be an easy one, so we'll try to answer some of your questions and we'll try to share our experience with you so that for you it will be easier than it was for us. If you have any questions, you can write them into the chat, or you can wait until the end of the session and we'll leave some time for your questions. And we'll probably start by introducing our speakers today. They're Lazat and Amina. You can introduce yourself.
Okay, I'll go first, okay. Hi, everyone. Nice to meet you all. My name is Lazat. I am currently a senior student majoring in political science and international relations. Throughout my university undergrad years, I've been part of a debating club, UN club, writing fellows, and I did various activities. So I hope my experience would be helpful to guide you through your university experience.
Hi everyone, my name is Alina. I am actually Alina's twin sister, as you can see here. I'm a third year student of electrical and computer engineering. And during my studies, I didn't have a lot of experience with clubs, but I had like a couple. For example, if you heard about IEEE or like dance clubs, I also participated. I have more or less okay GPA, I would say. I'm in like top 10 probably. So I think I could share some of my experience with you. And yeah, welcome to the session.
Thank you guys for such a nice introduction. I hope you got an idea of how experienced our speakers are as of today. And the first question that I wanted to ask from Amina and Lazat is, do you remember how your transition from foundation year or high school to first year of undergrad went? Was it okay or was it very difficult? How did you cope with it? Yeah.
Yeah, so I would say my transition period was quite difficult because like during the foundation year, the workload was relatively small. Like I didn't register a lot of courses. We had only 3: academic writing, math, and humanities course. So I was on top of everything, I would say, and it was also buttressed by the support of professors all the time. Like each task was monitored by professor at every stage. And also during my foundation year, I had quite a reclusive way of life. I didn't participate in social activity a lot. I was not part of a debating club at the time. But then, like as I've entered undergrad, like I've entered immediately the debating club. Like the workload increased immensely. I meant, like you would have to choose a lot of courses. You would have to navigate it all by yourself. And I've also, at that time, I assumed the position of external affairs manager at the MUN club, if you heard about it. So I had quite an intense, an insane amount of workload, and the transition was tough. As of habits, what has changed? So it prompted me to be more organized, but it was also very, very stressful, and I kind of regret that I overwhelmed myself with all of this. So transition was hard try to gradually introduce social activity or some activities into your life. Don't do it all immediately. So just, yeah.
Yeah, for me, I would say it was a little bit difficult after the foundation year, because as you said, you only have like 3 classes and do nothing all the other time. But like in the undergraduate, you have, I think, 5 courses or something. Like we had 34 ECTs in engineering school department, and there were some classes that required hardware projects, and that was really a challenge that we faced at the time, because during the foundation you really just do the homework, and you don't do the homework even, like you just go to classes, and then after the class you go and hang out with friends and like nothing else to do. But with the undergraduate starting, it was just like every day was doing something and then doing other things again and again, and the whole week was the same. And even on the weekends, you'd have to do some homework on math or physics. And yeah, I would say it was pretty stressful, the transition for me.
Yeah, same goes for me. Like all of us came straight out of foundation year into the first year of undergrad. We were completely unprepared. This foundation year creates an illusion that, oh, you're going to be fine in university. You're going to do fine with all of your subjects, even if you, don't stress or don't study hard and so on. It's completely fake. It's not going to be like that. So you should, after high school or after foundation year, it was a complete shift of mindset for me. Like in the foundation year, it was all about partying, hanging out with friends, going into clubs and stuff. And during my first year of undergrad studies, it was like, get a hold of yourself, start studying, stop doing unnecessary things. So yeah. The second question is there something that you've learned while trying to get used to university workload, something that would be helpful for current freshmen to know some tips or some things that you need to keep in mind while studying and while adapting?
So before I answer that, I would like to disagree a little bit on your previous point about foundation year. Like, I think it somehow prepared us. There were some PDM modules, like how to manage time, how to like get well with workload stuff. I just think that there was a really severe contrast between these two, so that's why we were overwhelmed. But I think in recent years they have changed a little bit the program, so it is more or less resemblant of the undergraduate. I think now they also register courses and they have quite similar amount of workload, I think now, more or less. But correct me if I'm wrong. As of some tips, like first of all, a little disclaimer. I don't think I am like super productive person. Like unlike Amina, I think yeah, I think productivity is a subjective sense, and there are a lot of factors that affect it. So I would say that everything I say, take it with a grain of salt. Like don't take it immediately and don't try to apply it immediately onto your own life. Like it is time management, focus, everything is super subjective. Just try to approach it empirically and check if something suits you, but do not force it onto yourself, as I did during my freshman year. I tried to consume insane amounts of information on how to manage time, how to be super productive, and I was really pissed off when they didn't work on me, and I was like super burnt out. So take everything I say here, and all of us say here with a grain of salt, doubt it. And yeah, that was the disclaimer. Now, what tips? So what helps me when I am overwhelmed with like tasks is to do a long list of all of these tasks and deal with the fear that appears when you have a lot of to do, and try to dissipate this foggy condition. I think that's quite relatable when you don't have on the list all of the deadlines and you feel foggy and you feel like there are too much to do. But when you actually put everything on the paper, it is less stressful, I think, or it becomes more concretized. So I think that helps me a lot. Also, try to differentiate between lack of productivity and depression. Like sometimes the causes of your unproductivity are not time management, but can be depression, or you may have burnout. So do not push yourself too hard and pay attention to such factors. That was the case during my first year. I was really pissed off about myself, and I hated myself for not being the top one, for not being able to do everything I wanted. And I cried almost every week, and it lasted for several months. So I couldn't like grasp this difference between depression, which caused, and the burnout, which caused all of this condition. I thought I'm just being lazy or unproductive. So please don't push yourself really hard if that's the case, and try to understand what's going on with you and consult specialists, psychologists, because productivity is bourgeois invention. Just kidding. So it doesn't worse your health, mental health especially. So I think I'm talking too much now. Sorry, Amina, I will give the floor to you now.
Well, thank you, Lizette, for giving me some time to speak. No, it was good. From my experience, I also think that you need a list of things to do for a week. For example, I make like a small timetable for like from Monday to Friday, and then I leave Saturday and Sunday for myself, just like to watch movies, to read books, to do anything other from studies and from work. And I don't even open a book on Saturdays and Sundays, because when you do that, the next week you feel like you didn't rest and you get tired and you always want to sleep. And like to cope with it, I think it's better to have some time to study and then leave also an amount of time that is enough for you to rest. Then I also have a small advice. I hope you can buy yourself like a paper timetable or something and write down the times of your classes, because one time when I was a first year of undergraduate, I was just doing my homework and watching a TV series at the same time, just sitting doing my stuff, and I forgot that I had a class that time, and it was like HST. If you have it, like if you're a first year undergraduate, you have it now probably, and they have this like an attendance policy that they attenuate 1% of your overall grade if you miss even a class. So I was super nervous that I missed it, and like I was so angry that I just forgot that I had a class. So if you can, just make yourself a timetable or try to memorize your time of your classes, or maybe set an alarm clock, because that really helps. Because sometimes it's this 1% could cost me a grade, and it almost did, because I got like a 90% overall, and like if I missed another class, it would be another grade. So yeah, just keep a timetable.
Yeah, I agree with all the stuff that was said by Lazat and Amina, because you see, we have very different perspectives on even on the foundation year, because for someone it might be a kind of preparation for your undergraduate studies, and for someone it might be a complete mess. So it depends on the person and on his or her particular situation. So you just try to sort out what you need from what we say. Don't follow everything we say, or don't think that everything is applicable to your situation. So yes, you have to think for yourself a little bit. Also, I saw this question in the chat that says, what do you do if you don't feel motivated to study? So do you have something, Lazat, Amina, that you do if you don't feel like doing your homework or preparing for your exams?
I can say that there will not be a time like when you, maybe there will be a time when you really want to study, but it doesn't come so often. So you shouldn't wait for the time till you're like, oh man, I'm just burning. I want to study. I want to crush this exam. It usually isn't that way. So we just allocate some time, like maybe 1 hour, 2 hours, like for 2, 3 days. I don't know, maybe a week. It depends, like on it depends on you. So you just shouldn't wait for that right time to come. You should just find some time. If you have some time, just sit, just open a book, and if you get started, it gets like easier later. Or maybe you can, if you are tired of studying, you can distract yourself for maybe like, if you study for an hour, you can spend like 15 minutes, 20 minutes watching something interesting, or just resting on a couch, and then study again. And I think it's really this like time allocation, like small periods of time that you need to study and some time that you need to rest. You should find your own balance for that, because everyone is different. Yeah, and like find some time to rest. That's essentially what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, I totally agree with Amina on that. I think you shouldn't wait for your motivation. It's more about discipline. So we all have sometimes like times when we want to lie on bed or like do something else, watch soap operas. So I think the discipline is the solution to this, and like you have to be consistent, and you have to specify those time slots when you work, and like just sit and start. But if speaking of long term, I think there is a root cause or like simply any cause for lack of motivation, and perhaps that is some fears you have about the hard assignment, or some maybe lack of interest in your major, and you are blindly following someone's imposed desires about your major, or some imposed expectations of society on you, that you have to study robotics instead of, for example, studying literature. So perhaps you should investigate the inner cause of this lack of motivation. Perhaps that's just burnout, and following the advice of Amina, like taking breaks, taking more conscious time forced to study and to relax would help. So the short term would be not to rely on motivation too much, and just sit and dissect all your tasks and start with small ones. And the long term would be, yeah, to investigate yourself. Maybe you have to change your major if you don't have motivation whatsoever. Yeah, that's what I would say.
Thank you for your answers. Yes, that was a very relatable stuff that Lazat said, because I myself studied my whole first year as an electrical and computer engineer, and then I changed my major to mathematics because at first I thought that it was just the workload being so hard, or the curriculum, or the program for electrical and computer engineering being so hard, or for example, if I am not studying as much as I should study and so on. But after a while, I just understood that all of the subjects that I was studying were not for me. I was not as much interested in them as I should have been for choosing this major. So I decided to change it later on, and it's best if you figure it out as early as you can. So don't just think that, oh, I'm so unproductive, I don't have any motivation to do stuff. Just think why you're not having this motivation. If you really want to do something, you're probably doing it for a reason. You're probably have something out there that serves as a motivation. So yeah, just try to find that thing, or if there is no such thing, you can just change your major and it would be very fine. Don't be afraid to do that, especially during your first year. And next question that I have for Lazat and Amina is, what does your current workload look like? How are you managing the stuff, your subjects, your extracurricular activities now when you're third and fourth year students?
Okay. I've actually had a lot of workload during my previous years. Now, as a senior, I simply like I have simple amount of course workload, and I have also work. So also responding to this question in the chat, like working alongside of your studies. So how to find balance on that. So how I find balance. Yeah, I try to allocate again those certain time slots when I study, certain time slots when I work, and I try to put nothing to the weekends, as Amina does, and try to recreate from that. Like my job, yeah, takes a lot of energy, but in general, if you again put on the list all of your tasks, it is quite easy to follow. Sometimes you have to make a little sacrifices. Maybe you don't read all of the readings during your studies, or maybe sometimes you reschedule certain things with your job, and it somehow affects you. So yeah, I think you have to prioritize something. If studies are more important for you, then pay more attention to this and try to do the bare minimum of work if both of them take too much time. Or if work experience, internship is more important for you and you plan to work in the future to continue that endeavor, then I would suggest to prioritize more on that, and sometimes not do all of the readings, or not to read those papers like very thoroughly. Of course, my professors would be pissed off hearing this, but yeah, I think it's about priorities, and you cannot. It's impossible, or not impossible, but very, very time and energy consuming, and it's really hard to have it all and do it all in equal high quality state. So priorities, that's my answer to this.
Yeah, my workload for this semester is pretty heavy, I would say, because in the third year of I don't know if other engineering schools also do this, but in electrical engineering, you kind of choose courses according to your specialty, to your future specialty. If you want to become a power engineer, you choose an according course or two. So for now, I don't really know which specialization I want to choose. So I decided to take 3 courses, 3 engineering courses, and there is also one like mandatory engineering course for all the specializations. And like having 4 engineering courses is pretty hard. And I already have like kind of a research assistantship. So yeah, you need to find the right time for the right things. For example, if you have a deadline coming this week and you need to like write a report the next week, don't start the report now. So like prioritize things that are coming first, or things that are difficult, start them in advance. For lab works, for example, in electrical engineering, there are a lot of like laboratory sessions that you have to take, and there are some labs or some courses with labs that are really difficult, and like 2-3 hours won't be enough. So you need to have a whole day to do one laboratory work. And I think that understanding which ones need more time and which ones you can do like in half an hour, if you learn that early, then that helps. And yeah, just allocating time, like I said, for example, for research assistantship, I do like 1 or maybe 2 hours a day maximum in the evening when I have done all my classes, because classes comes first. Like for me, it's like classes, then research assistantship, and then clubs. And if you manage, like if you learn to manage your time right, and if you learn to divide the time correctly for like the heavy stuff and the easy stuff, then I think
Thank you for your great advice and for your answers. I agree with that, that prioritizing is very, very important, and that also understanding what you need to do on your course. It's also a very, very important thing, because one of the students that is very, very successful, who has graduated recently, he said that one time when I asked him for advice for studying, he said that it's not important to do everything required on this course. You just have to do you just have to know what things your professor wants you to do, and just do those things. You don't have to read all the readings, and you don't have to know everything in scope of this course. You just have to figure out what your professor needs from you and do just that, and that would be enough. So yeah, and also the thing that I personally find helpful is that for each of the terms, during this 4 years of study, I have some kind of preliminary preliminary subjects that I plan to take on this term or in the next term, and so on. Like for all of this 4 years of university, I have planned courses, and I try to take them the way I planned, because I plan them in some way that the workload would be bearable for me, so that I won't be lying and dying because the workload is too hard. I actually did that one time. I had 4 math courses in one semester, and it was very hard. I don't recommend to do it. And it's, yeah. So just try to plan your semester before you actually start it. It would be very, very helpful to reduce the amount of stress you'll have to go through later. So yeah, and the next question is, so now we're having an online semester, we're studying and doing all the stuff online, except for the fact that some people are living in dormitory, like Kazat, some privileged people. So did your studying routine change because of online format of studying, or did it stay the same?
Yeah, it significantly changed, I think, and I think half of the university would agree with me. Like somehow there are more assignments, more things you have to do yourself. Like before, when classes were offline, we had like meetings with professor. We had immediate access to them on campus. We could just drop by their office and like just share whatever concerns, questions we had. Now it is more difficult to reach them. It is where like you are left all by yourself to figure out what to do. There are more like tiny assignments, a lot of them, and this happens with several courses. And before, like during the class, professors would remind you things, would explain you things. Now you just watch lectures, pre-recorded ones, and it's quite difficult to see it and force yourself to do so, while previously attendance can force you to come. And what else? Also, I think this is not the case for me now because I am on campus right now. But before, when I lived with family, it was also difficult. There were some family responsibilities. We'd have to plan them and plan your studies, and everything like just mixed and became topsy-turvy. So it changed significantly, I would say. Yeah, sorry for such superficial answer.
Well, for me, it also changed like a lot. So I'm an engineering major, so I was used to having some kind of laboratory works, some kind of projects, like group projects that you have to do when you're on campus, and you actually go to a laboratory and work with your hands, and it's really interesting and all that. But now we don't have this opportunity, and we just work boring. And if you expected some kind of like real work, like handwork, then for now it got delayed. But I think that this period of time is just the time when you have to push through, because I know it because it was really interesting before the COVID started. And I hope that people that chose engineering as their major won't get discouraged looking at like the online laboratories and stuff. So I think, yeah, you just have to push through this. You have to wait a little bit, and then it will get much, much better, because like engineering is a hands-on, like needs a hands-on approach. So yeah, just wait a bit and it will be very good.
Thank you for your answers. I also wanted to add that as for me, online studying was absolutely okay because we don't have any labs, and we usually we have all the lectures available on Moodle, so it was fine if we have any questions. And if you have any questions too, you can always approach your professor. Don't be shy. You can write them an email, or you can make an appointment for an office hour or stuff like that. So yeah, don't be shy and do all of that. And also, I think that online semester is helpful in a way that it helped me to organize my notes better because we're having all the lectures that are pre-recorded, and you can adjust the time, and professors are not rushing anywhere. They're like really focusing on thoroughly explaining the topic. So that was rather something positive for me that I got from the online semester. And the next question that I wanted to ask is regarding your studying techniques, your time management techniques. Also, some of the questions in the chat were related to that. So now that you have 3 or 4 years of experience of studying at university, and doing all the university stuff, working, maybe research, doing research, maybe participating in clubs? How do you organize all of that so that you keep it balanced and so that you don't burn out, hopefully?
Okay, let me go first here. Like, small confession, I am still terrible time management, and I hope like sometimes we have to see an alternative perspective to successful people with successful time management, and that alternative point is mine. So like what I understood throughout these years is that you can't do everything you want. So like now I, as a senior, pay more attention to hanging out with my friends, or to do things that are more important to me. Like, it again depends on your priorities, and like, I'm still terrible at time management, because if I really like the task or the book I'm reading, I will immerse in it completely, forgetting the time. Don't suggest doing that, especially if you have a lot of other responsibilities. So yeah, what helps me in such cases to balance the things out is to stop myself and like, as Amina does, focus on things, devote some time slots. 1 hour I will devote to this, and put them in hierarchy, urgency, importance, sort them out. Also, again, I'm repeating myself, but I cannot emphasize this point enough, that you have to, by the end of the week, sit and, or on Sunday, like before the week, or on Saturday, just try to make the list of all the deadlines you have, all the responsibilities of anything, even tiny thing you have to do, just for you not to forget, and create a plan for your week, approximately, like on which weekday you will do what. Of course, they are not perfect, and most probably you will not be able to do everything. I can show you an example. This is sort of, if you see it, my weekly plan, 6 days, what I have to do. Yeah, that's quite messy one, but like, these are generally the list of things I had to do for previous week, the due dates, which steps I have to take for their completion. If you're intimidated by task and it's really, really serious, and it has like a lot of tasks involved in it to complete it, just try to divide it. For example, if it is 2,000 word paper, which in political science we have a lot, prepare yourselves. Just try to start with doing research, and then formulating a thesis, like consulting your prof about this question, if you understood it correctly, and all those steps. I'm again talking too much. Now, lastly, studying techniques. Yeah, how to maintain focus and what studying techniques I use. Once again, I'm not sure if I'm really useful in this, but we all struggle with focus, so do not scorn yourself for this. But what helps me is, if you heard about it, Pomodoro technique. So it's similar to the strategy Amina described. When you work on something and you take breaks, Pomodoro technique really helped me a lot, and you can adjust the time you work. If your attention span is only 25 minutes, if you can concentrate on 25 minutes only, then do that and take 5-minute break. And if you Google this, internet will summarize it better than me, so try it. Also, like, there are a lot of other reasons for your lack of focus and distractions. you may have ADHD, attention deficit hyperactive disorder, which is a certain mental condition. In that case, consult specialist, try to again to explore yourself, because people with this diagnosis, they are easily distracted, and that's how their minds are set. So perhaps that is the case with you, then try to work consciously with that. Consult specialists. Also, there are a lot of distractions. Other than that, try to limit social media interactions. Maybe the weather is somehow affecting you. Maybe you haven't slept enough. So all of this affects a lot. So try to explore yourself again. Try to sleep well, eat well, take care of yourselves, and perhaps this will help you to focus more. But Pomodoro and lo-fi helps me personally. Lo-fi is like perfectly distorted music. Like it has distortions in it, and it like repeats itself, and it helps your mind to concentrate. So I think it's quite popular now. That's what I have to say about my techniques.
I wouldn't say I have a particular technique, but like I said before, I like to just do some amount of work, then rest a little bit, then do some work again. And I would like the first thing, the most important thing that I would recommend is having enough sleep, because this was a really big problem for me when I had a project, like a group project during my first year of undergraduate, and plan ahead of time, because that time me and my group, we like postponed the project for later, and like it went on and on and on, and then there were like 2 weeks left, probably maybe a week left, and then we just hurried to do everything in a couple of days, and it was a nightmare, because you can't physically like keep yourself productive, or not even productive, like you can't work normally when you try to do everything in a short period of time. And like, yeah, plan everything ahead, and then sleep well, and probably, like we said before many times, like write down all the things that you need to do for the week, and just when you do them and cross them off, it gives you this kind of satisfaction with yourself, like you did something. So it also helps me a little when I know I'm doing something. It helps me to do something later, like I know it's doable, and I like crossing things from the list. So yeah, keep a list, sleep well, and plan ahead of time.
I actually remember that one project we did it on the first year of university. It was the first semester, and it was hell. We didn't sleep. We ate like a little every day, and we all stayed in one room. There were 5 people in our group, and we had to constantly update each other on the things that we've already done, on the part that we finished and that we haven't. So yeah, don't do that. You never get 100% for the lab. You started several hours before your deadline, and that goes for everything. Your labs, your papers, your assignments. Start as early as possible. Even if you don't finish it right at the time when you started, just start it, so that you'll have some progress on each of them when the deadline is coming up. And also don't overestimate yourself. That's what I found really helpful for me, because during my first year, I overestimated myself so much. I thought that, so I have a lot of assignments, I'm going to finish them sometime. And this time just never came. It just went by, the time went by, and I did nothing. Even I wasn't a bad student during my first year at university, but like it was very, very hard to force myself to do something. So don't wait until something comes to you, some bliss, or I don't know. You just have to sit and start as early as possible. And also, sometimes the things that your prof tells you to do is not enough for you particularly. For example, if they give you a homework, they give you like lots of homework, assignments, chapters to read and so on, but sometimes it's just not enough for you. In my first year of university, I didn't know what I've probably did wrong, but I never got, for example, full on my exam on whatever subject. And then I figured out just even if it was enough for my friends or for some people from my major to just do the stuff the prof told us to do, it was not enough for me at all. I had to study some extra problems because I knew that my weak points were the topic A and the topic B and so on. So you just have to figure out a technique, and you have to figure out what things you need to learn and how you need to learn them for yourself. Nobody's gonna like come in your life and say, this is the best way for you to study and this will work for you 100%. You just have to try different techniques and adjust depending on what you've learned, depending on the facts that you know, like for example, this technique works well for me, or for example, group studying might work well for you, or it might not work well because you get distracted too much, and so on and so forth. So try a lot of things for yourself and just find out which one suits you better, because this is a very like it requires a very individual approach for each of the for each person. And yeah, so the next thing I wanted to ask is that we figured out that there is a heavy workload on all of the majors at our university. We have to do a lot of stuff, and apart from our studies, we also have to do some additional extracurriculars in order to be like, you know, a successful student or something. You have to work maybe, or you have to do your research, you have to participate in club activities, and all of that causes an immense amount of anxiety and a huge amount of stress. So how do you cope with that anxiety and stress? Because sometimes from my experience, I know that it might affect your performance during exams, during quizzes, or like, you know, it might affect your thinking abilities. So how do you cope with that?
I don't go. Just kidding. Yeah, I've recently found out that like meditations work for me when I'm super anxious during the examination period, or when I have like a really unpleasant and tricky task to do. I just open the meditation app. Balance it's called. So it has a free subscription for 1 year, and if you need it, I can send you a link, a present for it, or you can find it on in the apps, I think. So, or any meditation on the internet would work. I think just it helps me to rewind and like to restore my energy. Also, walking works. Talking to friends, sharing with someone your anxiety, or on the contrary, like staying and taking a little time to yourself. So it is really up to you, I think. Sometimes the anxiety or such outbreaks, emotional breakdowns are the cause of something more, as I'm not tired to emphasize this point again. So try to sign up for a consultation with a psychologist if this is very, very destructive for you, if this anxiety causes you something more destructive than simply not being able to do tasks. I don't know. I hope Amina has something more valuable to say about this.
Well, I don't know if it works for everyone, but when I'm just too stressed to study, I just don't. I just find a movie or a TV show, or just listen to some music and just like, or I go to sleep, because I know that for myself there is there are some periods of time when it's just like not studyable. Like I cannot study. I know that when I don't have, it's not the like, it's not the motivation, but if I'm just too tired to study, or I feel like it's not like, I don't know, I just kind of feel it. When you feel that, I go to sleep or I watch a movie, and then um, I'm like refreshed or something, or I just go with friends, because um, everybody needs some kind of rest from the studies and all the stuff coming their way. So I think that finding 1 or 2 days a week when you can just relax, do nothing, or maybe do something that you like, yeah, back. And what was I saying? And we once had this professor with Alina, a math professor, and he liked to say that before the exam, you should not study a day or two before the exam. You should go and watch a movie with friends, or you should go and like go for a walk, go party or something. Just 1 or 2 days of studying won't do much for you. You will be stressed. You will be like very doubtful of yourself. So just go and relax, because yeah, that maybe that's not true for you. I'm just speaking for myself. Because as I said before, I like to study in advance, so I have some time left before the exam, and I just like to rest. So right, like 40 minutes or 30 minutes before the exam, I don't get stressed, and I don't get the anxiety, like, I don't know, like I didn't have enough time to learn everything. So I just like to do everything in advance and have a day or two to rest before a big exam, for final or a midterm or something. So yeah, and that only, I don't know if it only works for me, but like maybe it doesn't work for you. So don't listen to me too much.
Thank you so much for such different answers. And I also would like to mention that many people say that it's helpful to keep in mind that your life is not limited to your academic performance or your performance in any field. It's just a field of your life. So you have to not forget that your health, for example, your physical and mental health is much more important than just studying. And yeah, that your life does not end with one unsuccessful assignment or something like that. You just have to keep going. Don't get too much discouragement from that. Sometimes it's good, like Lazat and Amina said, to just have a rest and to lie down. Give yourself some time to breathe between your huge studying blocks. So, and also one question that I am particularly interested in is if you have something that you look back to it and you wish that you've done it differently, or that you haven't done it at all during your like during your years at university, something maybe related to your studies, academic performance, time management, or like anything at all. Is there something like that? Would you like to mention some examples and some tips for the freshmen, some things that they would avoid?
Okay, I'll go first. I try not to have regrets about the past. Like there's one philosopher said, his name is Søren Kierkegaard. He said the past life can be understood backwards, but it must be lived forward. So I try to look at it and not regret about it, but I think that what I would have done differently is that I would not be afraid to talk and communicate with my professors more, to come to their office hours more, because like Alina previously said, it is sometimes helpful to understand what is the priority for the professor, particularly like if you're interested in grade, but also they give good guidance on your academic endeavors. They may support your interest and like give a lot of great suggestions. So I wish I wasn't afraid to go and visit and talk to them. I would also want not to push myself too hard and during my first year and obsess over the GPA and over the success of others. Like sometimes you visit someone's LinkedIn page and you think, oh my God, everyone is so successful. I am a failure. I wish I didn't. I wish I didn't talk to myself like that. And, I wish I just focused on myself, and learning and life in general is a process. So if you are not successful right now, or if you're bad at certain things you would like to be better at, and you're bad at them now, that's okay. Just like try to understand that life is a process, and you will somehow, if you work consistently and diligently and would find mentors for yourself, you will make out of this. But over obsessing about it, like hating yourself, would not help, and it cause you a lot of hair loss, but now it's restored. Yeah. I used to have shorter hair before, through my first year. So that's an allusion to that. Also, I would, I would work more diligently. Like during my first year, I worked too hard for some social projects, events. Yeah, I've learned a lot. I wrote emails to embassies. I've done various things. I found a lot of good connections and good people, like Alina, for example, we're from one debate club. But I wish I wasn't that devoted to social life and like worked more diligently on my academic life. Yeah, because I sometimes would neglect biology course, for example, some technical courses, which were actually very interesting, but I just deemed them unimportant and like neglected them, which looking back was not that good. Yeah. So that's pretty much it. I hope this would be somehow helpful. Also, I wish, one last thing, I wish I doubted what people told me more. Like, I think critical thinking and doubting are very, very great skills, especially when we have such an immense amount of information coming from different sources. And even you can see now, three of us have different perspectives on things. So I wish I didn't take everything literally and then like hated myself for something not working out for me. So yeah, I wish I cared about myself more.
For me, it is the other way around, I think. Like during my first year of studies as an undergraduate, I was really trying to be like very, very productive. I was always trying to be the top first student, and I probably, and yeah, most certainly, I missed on some cool stuff in the university. I didn't go to much parties. I didn't make many friends during my first year. And that is very, like, for me, I think it would be very good to have found some friends from my department specifically, because now we have kind of like group projects or like laboratory works where you have to do something with other people, like for example, a group of 3 people, and you have to build something or like do something together. And it's really, really easier when you have a friend, because you can communicate better, you can figure out the right time, and you can like discuss things more openly with your friend. And it's like, if you know that your friend is responsible, then you can be sure that some classes are going to be easy. For example, there are some lab courses that are like probably 2 ECTs in my schedule now. And I have found a friend with whom I can do this laboratory works. And it really helps me, because sometimes when I can't do something and it's in really pushing a deadline, then I just ask him to do my part, and the next time I will do his part. And if you have a really good friend, like you can agree on such things, this kind of things. You can have your own terms of work, for example, and it's really helpful. And in general, I think studying too much can be a problem. And I think that networking is a big part of the university, which can probably help in your later life. So yeah, for me, it was networking, I think.
Thank you for your answers. I also have one thing that I regret not doing during my first year at university, which is doing my best. Like after my foundation year, as I've previously mentioned, I was so chill and relaxed, and I was so fine with everything that was going on. Of course, I did my assignments on time and so on, but I don't think that I tried my best to have, higher grades or to have better knowledge of some stuff. So don't think that at that time I thought, oh, I was going to be fine with that because I have so much friends and so much activities in my club. But you have to think about yourself in the future, because now I look back and I think that was probably too much of club activities, of hanging out with friends and so on. I should have studied more. So you should think about that part as well. And also, the last thing that I wanted to ask from Lazat and Amina is, do you have some advice to give to freshmen regarding your own school or your major that would help them adapt better? For example, some stuff they have to do earlier, if there are some papers on some subjects or homework assignments or labs and so on. So yeah.
So I am a political science student, and like I don't have some particular steps you have to undertake. I just think certain skills are really valuable in our department. It's ability to think critically, analytically, to like digest a lot of diverse amount of information, and to be able to put it into arguments. So what helped me personally is good writing skills. So if you struggle with writing, please like try to develop it before your undergrad. And foundation year was really helpful with that. Like it was really, really useful. And also, I would say, try to read news more. Try to read diverse opinions more if you're going into our department, because like being up to date to what's happening in the world is really important when you study political science. And lastly, I would say you would have to read also closely, and you would have to like find out what works for you, because yeah, I'm a little lost now with my point. So maybe if I remember it later, I will try to write it in the chat. But in general, yeah, critical thinking, good writing skills, ability to express your thoughts clearly, concisely, distinctly. Yeah, and that's pretty much it.
Well, I'm in ECE, so from my part, I would say find yourself some friends so you can consult with them, or you can do laboratory works with them, or some projects with them. So it's always some kind of group projects in engineering. So yeah, like networking is very helpful. And I don't think that there are much extracurriculars that you can do for engineering major, but I think that you should talk to professors more. Like if you don't know something, just ask a question, or try to make it so they remember you. Because later, if you have a good grade, or even just if they remember you, if you ask a lot of questions, if you give like good answers, then you can ask for like they can recommend you for some kind of programs. You can ask for a recommendation letter, and they can offer you like a research opportunity. That happened to me before. So yeah, try to be active during the class. Don't be afraid of the professors. They're just trying to be helpful to you. And yeah, communicate more.
Yeah, that was a very helpful advice. I think that for all of the majors, it would be applicable. The one that you said about talking to professors, going to office hours, because they have a lot to teach us, and there are things that they don't talk about in class, but if you go and ask them during the office hours, they can explain some things much more clear, because they have more time, because they know which topics to tackle, which problems you don't understand, and so on and so forth. And also the things that is related to math major and prior SST, now also SSH, is don't limit yourself to what your professor asks you to do, because for you it might not be enough to prepare yourself to all the exams, to finals or midterms. So find find the amount of work that is good for yourself to prepare for the exams, and don't only rely on the stuff that professor tells you to do. Do some stuff yourself, because it's in your interest to be as prepared as you can for the exam, or for the final or the midterm, like whatever exam you're gonna have. So that was the last question I wanted to ask from our speakers. If you have any questions, you can unmute yourself, you can ask, or you can write them in the chat. I'll probably wait for a minute or a minute and a half, and then if there will be no questions, I'll thank the guests and finish the session. I also hope that you found something that was helpful for yourself. Like, we specifically invited people from different majors so that you can ask some stuff that is related to your major or to your school, or anything. It doesn't have to be related even to your academic activities or your workload. You can ask anything you want, because these people, they are experienced. They have studied in this university for 3-4 years. So yeah. Okay, guys, if there are no questions, I'm going to end the session. Thank you to Lazat and to Amina and to everyone who came to this session. Yeah, I was glad to have you here and to talk to you, discuss some stuff. I hope that you found some of that stuff relatable to yourself. If not, then it's also okay, but not as good as if you did find it relatable. So yeah, thank you very much and goodbye to everyone.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Thanks everyone. Hope it will
Thank
be
you. Goodbye.